What's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Yes, this is different and actually after this intro I'm going to look completely different because as I was editing this video, I'm almost done, but I have to edit the intro into it now because I cannot find my intro footage absolutely anywhere. I'm sorry that the beginning of this series is already off to a rough start with me losing a whole intro to this video. So yes, this is a different day. I filmed this on a different day, so in a second you will see me look completely different with makeup on, different sweatshirt, same background, but you get what you get, okay, when you get to this channel. To the people that I've already had subscribed to, all 140 of you, I'm very thankful that y'all subscribed to my channel when it came to me vlogging or just making up random stuff. Lately I've been having a lot of difficulties like realizing what I wanted to do with this channel. I decided a while back, actually kind of in the beginning of summer, that I kind of fell out of love with making the YouTube videos that I was making. I just wanted to let everybody know that I will be changing. Obviously by the title of this video, you saw that this is now a true crime channel. Welcome everybody, and to the new subscribers, I do have my old channel in a playlist so you can go watch those videos and see what I was about before this. But I am a criminal justice major at the University of Louisiana Monroe. I will be graduating this December with my bachelor's degree. So I'm kind of into this, I guess you could say, because this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be a detective or look at case studies when it comes to this and, you know, be an investigator, whatever I can do. This is something I'm really passionate about. I've done a lot of research and I'm really excited for this channel and this new beginning. But this channel will start off with all 50 states. I will be posting every single Thursday, so if y'all like true crime, I would suggest that you hit that subscribe button. I will be posting alphabetically, so it's just a lot easier. All 50 states and the true crime that stuck out to me the most in each state. This story starts off with Amy Bishop. We are about to head to different Sydney and different outfit and different day now, so enjoy. April 24th, 1965, Amy Bishop was born by her two parents, Judy and Sam Bishop. Judy and Sam met at the New England School of Art in Boston, and they decided to get married a year later. Then whenever they got married, they moved to Iowa City, where Sam attended the University of Iowa School of Art, and they had Amy a year later. So they decided to move back to Massachusetts and settle in Braintree in 1968. They had two kids, Amy Bishop and her younger brother, who was 3 years younger than her, Seth Bishop. Growing up, Amy kind of had pretty harsh asthma. She had a lot of hospital visits and stuff like that from asthma attacks and just trouble breathing. And so every single time she would go to the emergency room, this kind of started a really weird love of science. Amy wanted to grow up and do something in the medical field. So since the emergency rooms, all the trips that she had to the emergency room, just kind of developed this love for science. In third grade, Amy started violin lessons, and Sam kind of like looked up to that and looked up to her. And so he told his parents, hey, I want to start violin lessons too. And so it started a weird competitive relationship between the two siblings. It was described as a very competitive relationship between them, but also very loving. They were very, very, very close growing up. Since Sam also looked up to her, they both shared a love of music and science. So, you know, they always got to collab and stuff like that and always got to work on their homework together. And it was described as just a really easy relationship, like even though it was competitive. Amy was kind of known to be an outsider and a loner. City that they grew up in, Braintree, was kind of known as like a jock town. A lot of athletes were like born and grown up there and stuff like that. So if you were anything that was like kind of towards not being an athlete, like with music, or you were just kind of smarter in some different like fields like of science and math and stuff like that, you were kind of known as like a nerd, I guess you would say. So Amy was described as a loner because she didn't have many friends. Seth was also known to be shy and kind of to himself, but he was more talkative than Amy. He could make friends easier than she could. He was really into hobbies and loved making things and stuff like that, and always wanted to try and learn how to make things. He would always ask his dad to help him. He created new hobbies besides just seeing what Amy wanted to do with her own hobbies. One night in 1985, they were attending the wake of Sam's father, so their grandfather, and their house got broken into and there was a lot of stuff stolen. Judy's wedding ring, and then there was a pair of silver cups that were commemorating the birth of Amy and Seth, and those got stolen, and a bunch of other valuables. So since the house was broken into, Sam decided that he needed to go purchase a gun for protection. So he went to a local sports store and purchased a 12-gauge shotgun. Because of all this, the family was shaken up, and anything like very little that would happen, like a little minor occurrence, they'd be really freaked out. Almost a whole year later, on December 6, 1986, Amy was curious and wanted to load the gun for her protection because she was by herself, because Seth, her mom, and her dad were all out. So she felt, because the year prior they had gotten broken into, she wanted to have a little extra protection, so she loaded the gun. After she loaded it, she couldn't figure out a way to unload it, so she went downstairs to ask Seth how to unload it, and as she was asking him, she fatally shot him in the chest at point blank and ran out of the kitchen. When she ran out of the kitchen, she was so distraught that she didn't even let go of the gun and left him there with her mom whenever they had gotten back home. When she was found and questioned by police, Amy would not let go of the gun. A cop actually had to come up behind her and basically like scare her into giving her the gun, and she complied, and then she was arrested. Whenever she was questioned, Amy said that she loaded the gun because she was very anxious because of the break-in that happened the year prior, and it was just kind of ruled an accident. It was just ruled as a really fatal and tragic accident. She had said that even before she accidentally shot him, a bullet had went off and it had shattered her mirror and busted a hole in her wall. So she really did not know how to unload the gun, and that is why it accidentally went off whenever she was trying to show Seth. Whenever she was asked if she killed Seth on purpose, she answered no. So it was just ruled a really bad, tragic accident, and the whole town was so distraught and so upset, and continued to bring the family food and gifts and just their condolences for the passing of Seth. Since the siblings were so close, Amy was also, she just couldn't sleep at night. She always went into her mom and dad's bedroom, and she ended up sleeping with them some nights because she had really bad nightmares. Seth was 18 at the time of his death, so Amy was 21, and she was actually in college taking classes at Northwestern University, where Sam, her father, taught. Amy fell into a pretty deep depression and mentally was never treated for it. She said she was constantly horrified, always having the vision. She felt guilty, always sick. So the only time she left the house was whenever she did attend class, and she kind of focused all of her just guilt, and she put that more towards school. So she was actually an outstanding student. She had excellent grades. She did really well and actually graduated from Northwestern University. After she finished at Northwestern, she actually went on to get her PhD at Harvard in 1988. So while she was at Northwestern, backtracking a little bit, she met a guy named Jim Anderson, and they actually eventually fell in love and got married. She had her wedding with Jim at the same church that they held Seth's funeral at. What's supposed to be a very happy and celebrating day I couldn't imagine trying to do something like that at the funeral, like, or at the same church that I had my brother's funeral at. I had no idea if I could do that, so props to her. So in 1991, Amy gave birth to her first daughter, Lily, and then she followed with two other daughters, Thea and Phaedra. I want to say that's the name, or Phaedra or something. I'm gonna put the name here so somebody correct me. She was known to be like a really high-strung mother. She only gave her kids organic foods, and she like made them get into like school and education. She was constantly making them do their homework as soon as they got home. During this time she was at Harvard, she hadn't graduated yet, so she eventually got her PhD at Harvard in 1993. In 2001, she gave birth to her first son and her last born, and she named him Seth. And it's really sad, but Seth, her son, was born on Seth's 33rd birthday, so they shared the same birthday. Amy was known to be brittle, but a great friend. Like, she was constantly there for her friends, but some of the remarks that she would say would just seem a little bit off, and her friend actually referred her to Crazy Amy. So this is kind of where things start to take a small turn. In 2002, the family decided that they were going to go eat breakfast, and they went to a really busy IHOP. As they're waiting to be sat, their party gets called, and she says that she needs a booster seat or a high chair. And the host ended up telling her, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry, but we gave our last booster seat and our last high chair to the family before you." Well, this pissed off and triggered something in Amy. She started screaming and yelling, saying, "I was here first, like that is my booster seat," and was just causing a big, huge commotion. Amy went up to the lady that she saw had the last booster seat and she screamed, "I am Dr. Amy Bishop." I don't know if that means anything, but she was asked to leave the restaurant by the cops, and she complied after turning around and punching the woman dead in the face. So because of that, she was arrested, but the charges were eventually dropped. So around that time, Amy was under a lot of stress. She was taking care of 4 kids. She has to finish her postdoctoral stuff from Harvard. She was also having to help Jim, her husband, get jobs because he didn't have as high of a degree as she did, and he was constantly in and out of jobs, and most of the jobs that he had happened because of Amy, but he really just didn't do anything. She said that he was a ambitious, challenged, bed-loving loser. In 2003, the family eventually moved to Huntsville, Alabama, where Amy got a job as a professor at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. She was described as a mean professor, and she kicked out a lot of her students, a lot of graduate students, and a lot of students also asked if they could be transferred to a different class or just drop the class as a whole. So she was known to be a very hard professor, and she would insult her students sometimes, saying they were not bright, they were not smart enough to be in her class. She was a little rough. So Amy was prone to erratic behavior after her kids were born, actually. Her friends and family back home tried calling her multiple times, and she would never pick up the phone. She would never answer phone calls. And if she did, it was very, very rushed and very awkward, and they said it just didn't seem like Amy at all. So Amy was known to have written many different novels, and she was known as a really good writer. So she applied to the University of Alabama, Huntsville, she applied with a tenure. I don't know why I can't say that word. She was actually denied. A member of her committee actually claimed her as crazy, and she said, "I worried about her mental health only 5 minutes after meeting her." Amy had filed many appeals after she was denied, and eventually got a lawyer involved, this just adding more stress to Amy's life. One day, Amy drove up to the university with intentions of talking to the president. So she called the president's office, President Williams, and she was basically talking about how she had the intentions of coming up to his office to discuss the tenure. They basically said, "Please don't come in at all, don't even step foot indoors." And she was kind of like worried, or like, you know, kind of sick to her stomach, like, why would somebody say that to me? She actually saw them leaving the campus being escorted by a cop. She said to her friend when she called her on the phone, she was like, "It's like they think I'm gonna shoot them or something." So later, right after all that incident, Amy and Jim decided that they were gonna go to a place called Larry's Pistol and Pond, that is a firing range, and they were gonna have target practice just, you know, for fun. They brought a 9mm Ruger that Jim obtained from his friend, who gave it to him illegally because of the period of the time that you have to wait in order to get a license for a gun. Not even a week after target practice with her husband, on February 12, 2010, she had a faculty meeting with her Department of Biology. Amy was sitting next to the department chair, Gopi Podia. I don't know, I'm gonna put the name here. I'm really terrible with names. He was setting out the agenda to the team. Amy was normally pretty vocal during the meetings, but this time, for the 50-minute meeting, she was very, very, very silent. She never said a word. Though there was an obvious explanation, because the years prior, she had constantly been denied of her tenure, and she was really pissed off because every single person that was sitting in the department in that exact conference room were people that denied her. So it was probably really uncomfortable because of how many times she did appeal the decision and constantly being denied by the people that you have to continue having faculty meetings with. Like, I would be kind of pissed off too, but I wouldn't do what she did. As the meeting was concluding, Amy stood up, took out her 9mm Ruger that was in her purse, and she shot Gopi Podia in the head. She fired again at Stephanie Montecillo and Adriel Johnson. People screamed and tried running out, but Amy was blocking the only door, and then she again fired at Maria Raglan Davis. Amy was friends with one of the department staff, Deborah Moriarty. Deborah crawled underneath the table and flung her arms around Amy's legs and was pleading with her, asking her why she was doing what she did. and Amy looked her dead in the eyes and tried to pull the trigger, but the gun jammed. So Deborah, frightened, crawled into the hallway around Amy, and Amy followed her into the hallway as she was running and continued to click the gun and pull the trigger, but it kept jamming, it kept clicking. As she was pulling the trigger, she decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and stay in the hallway and try to fix the gun. So Deborah ran around her and closed the door, and her and the remaining faculty staff that were not injured decided to barricade the door so Amy couldn't get in. 6 people were shot and 3 of them were fatal. Amy had ran into the ladies' room and cleaned off the gun and threw that and her blouse that she was wearing that was covered in blood in the trash can, and she proceeded to call her husband Jim to come pick her up from the university. She proceeded to say the words, "I'm done." Before Jim could even get there, she was arrested on the spot at the university. So the other 9 people that were in the conference room that day were alive, so they were witnesses to the police and explained exactly what happened. All of the witnesses' stories were the exact same, so it was kind of clear who did it and what happened. You know, the police had to decide, like, we need to start an investigation as to, like, why, like, what was the motive? Like, how could somebody so well educated and, like, doesn't have a criminal background do something so horrific? The tenure that she had applied for that was denied was the motive behind why Amy killed all of those innocent people. They decided, you know, everyone that was in the conference room that day was the one that denied her tenure, and that is why she did what she did. And I don't think, personally, that should ever be a reason for you to be so upset with somebody because you were denied. They didn't think that you were fit for the job, so there's no point in you going and, like, killing innocent people, but we'll get to that, sorry. While the police in Alabama were looking into her past, they actually found out about what happened in 1986 with her shooting her brother. They looked into her past more, and in 1993, Dr. Rosenberg, that she was, I don't think she was an employee of, or like maybe she was working with them, didn't really give me like a thing. I know that he said that, like, he was giving her like an unfavorable review of, I guess, her job. I don't know, it was kind of vague. I couldn't really get into it, so if anybody can see that and can find it, I guess just let me know, because I don't want to tell you the guy's something wrong. With Dr. Rosenberg, he found 2 bombs in his mailbox that did not detonate. There was like 2 pipe bombs, and thank God they didn't. But when Amy and her husband Jim were questioned about it at that time, they said they had nothing to do with it. So whenever they questioned Dr. Rosenberg, he was like, I don't have any beef with anybody, so the only person that I can think of is Amy. But there wasn't enough evidence to convict Amy or her husband of that, so the charges were never brought up, so it's just an unsolved mystery at that point. But police also looked into the 2002 IHOP incident where Amy had an outburst and she had punched that lady in the face. During the police interview after the shooting, Amy actually denied that it even happened. She told the police, "It didn't happen, I wasn't there, it wasn't me."
Even led away in handcuffs, Bishop seems in denial.
It didn't happen. There's no way.
What about the people who died?
There's no way they're still alive.
She was charged with 1 degree of capital murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. In April 2010, the police decided to reopen the investigation of her brother, the incident that happened in 1986. She was actually charged with the 1st degree murder of her brother, Seth Bishop, so adding more time. Amy tried for the guilty of reason of insanity plea, but she was obviously denied. She said that she was schizophrenic and she was not right at the time that she was doing what she was doing. She was underneath a lot of stress and she blacked out and couldn't remember. She actually pled guilty to all charges after she was denied, and she was given a life sentence without possibility of parole in September 24, 2012. In 2014, Amy actually filed a petition to get her charges and sentencing dropped. She argued again that she was schizophrenic and she was hearing voices at the time and she was not appropriately assessed after the mass shooting. She said that her attorney did not represent her well at all, and that the court misread her rights. Obviously that appeal was rejected, and she remains at the Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women in Alabama to this day, where she is serving her life sentence for murdering and killing all of those people. I know that this one was very calm. I didn't really want to go into a very long and elaborate detailed video, especially with the graphics of everything, because I don't want anybody to be really squeamish. But the next one for Alaska is a serial killer, and it does involve a lot of different graphic images and stories. So I wanted to start this off kind of easy going. If y'all wanted more details, I will do a follow-up video if needed. But this is all I could find about Amy at the moment. There's a lot more, but I don't want to constantly do serial killers. I did want to do true crime. If this was too little, too much, just let me know. I did the research for it and I thought this was really interesting. I don't know, like, it's so interesting to me because she had a good life. Like, she went to Harvard, she had a great upbringing with her family. Granted, like, it's crazy because it could be anybody. Jim, whenever he was interviewed, her husband literally was like, I absolutely don't know, like, what clicked, I have no idea. But I think that that's BS because he literally got a phone call wherever she said, I'm done. So he had to know. What do you mean I'm done? So again, that's today's video. I will be posting every Thursday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a new series on my channel and I hope that this goes really well and that y'all enjoyed it. And I will see you in the next one. I hope y'all have a great day today. All right, bye.